Jacob Zuma has no money. Everyone assumes he stole this country dry. He let everyone else steal the country dry. He was a disaster. But he just was Father Christmas, Santa Claus, didn't take any himself. He's actually bankrupt.
Yes, Jacob Zuma is undoubtedly facing significant financial strain. His legal battles are legendary in their cost, and his legal fees are astronomical. He's been ordered to repay a portion of the Nkandla upgrades, and he faces ongoing corruption charges related to the arms deal. He's been embroiled in endless court cases, appeals, and legal skirmishes, each draining his resources. This is the direct, unvarnished consequence of his own actions, a self-inflicted wound brought about by years of alleged criminality and defiance of accountability. But to suggest he's broke, in the sense of a destitute man, a victim of circumstance, is not just disingenuous, it's an insult to the intelligence of every single South African. This isn't poverty, this is the predictable fallout from years of alleged corruption. And the timing of this broke narrative, coinciding with his aggressive return to the political stage with the MK party, is no accident. And this leads us to the utterly preposterous, insulting, and frankly, idiotic narrative that Jacob Zuma allowed the Guptas to steal from this nation, but that he himself didn't steal anything. This is the core of the deception, the bedrock upon which the broke narrative is built. The idea that he was a mere bystander, an unwitting accomplice to the systematic looting of South Africa, is a lie so audacious it borders on comedic. But there's nothing funny about what happened to this country. Let's tear apart the claim that he didn't steal anything by looking at the very mechanisms through which state capture operated, and the role Jacob Zuma played. His role wasn't passive, it was active, calculated, and utterly devastating. He shuffled ministers like playing cards, installing loyalists in key portfolios who would do the Guptas' bidding. Remember Nene, the finance minister who dared to stand in the way of the Guptas' insatiable greed. He was summarily fired, replaced by a pliant successor. This was not a mere cabinet reshuffle, this was the systematic dismantling of our treasury's independence, a direct attempt to hand over the keys to the national purse to a private family. He appointed compromised individuals to the boards of state-owned enterprises, ensuring that the Guptas' tentacles could reach deep into the state's coffers. The Zondo Commission's findings are unequivocal. Zuma was instrumental in facilitating state capture. He was not an innocent bystander, he was a willing participant, a conductor leading a symphony of corruption. And how did the Guptas achieve this monumental theft? This wasn't petty theft, this was grand larceny on an unprecedented scale, orchestrated with surgical precision. They didn't just walk in and grab cash. They masterminded a complex network of shell companies, fronting operations, and illicit financial flows, often routing money through global financial systems, reaching as far as Dubai and India. We saw inflated contracts with state-owned entities like Eskom and Transnet, where services were either vastly overpriced or simply never rendered. Bogus consulting fees paid to Gupta-linked firms like Trillion, which served as little more than money laundromats, cycling stolen funds to obscure their origins. They exploited compliant banks, using intracompany and shareholder loans to mask the movement of illicit funds. The State Capture Commission laid bare the horrifying details, the systematic looting of our SOEs, leaving them bleeding and dysfunctional. This wasn't accidental, it was a deliberate, calculated assault on our national resources, and it could not have happened without the men at the top. And what about the so-called favors that the Guptas did for the Zuma family? Favors. Is that what we're calling the blatant, transactional influence peddling that saw the Zuma clan directly benefiting from their proximity to power? We're not talking about a kindly gesture here and there. We're talking about the Guptas embedding themselves within the Zuma family's financial lives, creating a web of dependency that was explicitly designed to leverage the president's office for their own nefarious ends. The president's son became a director in numerous Gupta-owned firms. His daughter was also on the board of Sahara Computers. Was this simply a case of entrepreneurial spirit? Or was it a strategic placement, ensuring direct lines of communication and influence, a constant reminder to the Guptas of their investment in the first family? We saw reports of the Guptas reportedly helping pay off a bond for Zuma's wife, Zuma. This wasn't charity, folks. This was the down payment on the destruction of a nation. And let's not forget the sheer audacity of the Gupta wedding at Waterkloof Air Force Base. A national key point, a strategic military installation, turned into a private landing strip for wedding guests. Who facilitated that? Who gave the nod? It was Jacob Zuma, through his silence, through his tacit approval, through his utter disregard for national security and dignity. This wasn't a favor, this was a grotesque display of contempt for South Africa's sovereignty, enabled by the very men sworn to protect it. The sheer idiocy of Jacob Zuma to allow people to steal from his country is a concept that truly boils the blood. Idiocy. Or something far more sinister. To stand by, or worse, to actively assist as the very fabric of our democratic institutions is shredded, as our state-owned enterprises are crippled, as our national pride is dragged through the mud. This isn't just a lapse in judgment, it's a profound betrayal. Where was the patriotism? Where was the sense of duty, the pride in the nation that many fought and died for? To allow a foreign family to wield such influence over our cabinet, our economy, our very sovereignty, speaks to an unforgivable lack of national pride. A true leader would have stood as a bulwark against such a brazen assault. Instead, Zuma opened the gates, inviting the hyenas to feast on the carcass of our democracy. The legacy of Jacob Zuma is not one of a benevolent, misunderstood leader who merely found himself in a tough financial spot. It is the legacy of state capture, of institutional decay, of a nation brought to its knees by greed and a shocking dereliction of duty. The idea that he didn't steal anything is a fantasy, a cruel joke played on the millions of South Africans who suffer the consequences of that systematic looting every single day. And the idea that he's broke is simply the final, desperate act in a play that caused immeasurable harm. The anger, the frustration, the outrage, it's not just justified, it's essential. Because until we confront the full, ugly truth of what happened, we can never truly heal, and we can never truly move forward.